Hi everyone, Sandy here. Welcome to my channel. This is the tutorial video for my coffee table photo album. This will be the one we make in the tutorial. This one is my prototype. I have a separate video that showcases both of them so that you can see what they look like. So stay tuned for the tutorial. To make this coffee table album, gather up your supplies. You're going to need two 12 by 12 pieces of the heavyweight or medium weight chipboard that you get from Country Craft Creations. You're going to need 9 12 by 12 cardstock. This is the Artisan cardstock from Country Craft Creations in the colors that you want. I'm using the natural. You want your paper collection. This project's going to be done with the Here, There, and Everywhere by Carta from Country Craft Creations. And then I also have my decorative pieces, my chipboard accents, some enamel dots, and ephemera that I'm going to add in probably. And then also you want your adhesive that you like to use. I use art glitter glue from Country Craft Creations. You might want to use score tape. And you will also definitely want, at least for the part on the inside spine, one 8.5 by 11 score tape sheet. I don't have one here to show you. Or if you're going to do the covers, you're going to need at least 3 if you're going to do the covers so that it doesn't buckle or anything. So that's up to you. So let's get started on this project by making our album cover first. To create your album cover, you will need to cut your chipboard, your 2 pieces of 12 by 12 heavyweight chipboard, and your cardstock to wrap the cover. I will be using the lay flat method, which I will link up above. You can see the link right up there to a video that I did. This is Tamara's with Country Craft Creations design for a lay flat album cover. I'm not going to do it here in this video, but you can certainly follow the one that I did list up there, and I will put the link down in my description below so you can click on more for that. I will also type up and add the measurements for the chipboard pieces and the cardstock pieces in my description so you can copy and paste that if you want. So I'll give these to you real quick, and then I'm going to go and make mine off camera, and then I'll join you back here to continue working on this album. So for the heavyweight chipboard, you're going to need 2 pieces that are 12 by 12, and you're going to cut 2 pieces down to 7 by 10, and then you'll need to cut one that is 2.5 by 7 for the spine. With your cardstock, you need to cut 2 that are 9 by 12 to wrap the bigger pieces, and you need one that is 5.5 by 9 to wrap the spine. You'll need 1 piece of cardstock that is 6.5 by just slightly under 7 inches tall for the support piece that goes on the inside of the album cover over the spine. And then you're also going to want score tape sheets if you don't want to use glue. Now I put score tape sheets on mine. I think in the video I used glue, whichever you want, but you would cut the same sizes for this. 2 at 7 by 10, 1 at 2.5 by 7, and then for this piece on the inside, I do use this the score tape sheet in the video on this one, and that is 6.5 by just under 7. So I'm going to go ahead and go make my cover, and then I'll be back to continue working on this album in just a bit. Okay, so I have my patterned papers on my covers. I have the petal pink mat underneath the patterned papers, so I have it all the same on the front, spine, and back. And on the inside, I have the cameras with the same flowers, but in the smaller size, the little cameras all the way across like that. So that's the cover. We're all ready for to make our pages. So we'll make the small ones for this side and the larger ones for this side. Super simple, easy to make this and get this project done. Again, I'm going to be keeping this really flat and simple here like I did on my prototype. On this one, I just added a chipboard piece down here at the bottom. I'll see what I have later on to add to this one, but I like to keep this type of album nice and flat, no dimensional flowers or anything, so that when it's on the coffee table or a table for looking at the photos, it just lays nice and flat. So now let's get our pages made. To create our album pages, or rather photo flaps, because this is going to be made a little bit different, you're going to need 9 sheets of 12 by 12 cardstock for that. And I'm going to give you a tip on cutting out for these. There's 2 sizes. For the left side of the album, we want 8 pieces that are 5 by 5.5 before we score them. And then we need 1 piece that's 5 by 5 that's not scored. And then on the right side, we're going to need 8 pieces that are 9 by 6.5 before we score it, and 1 piece that's 8.5 by 6.5 not scored. So what I did for mine, I have them already cut. You take a 12 by 12 and you're going to cut in your cutter your 9-inch first, 9-inch width. Then you're going to cut your 6.5. So you do all that, and then what you have left here, in this section here, you can get your 8 5 by 5.5. So cut your 9-inch cut first, then cut it at 6.5 and set that aside. So that will give you your 9 by 6.5. Then from this piece down here, you would cut your 5 by 5.5 and set those aside. And then on one sheet, you would cut your 8.5 first, and then 6.5, and then you cut your 5 by 5. So that way you can get all these out of 9 pieces of 12 by 12 cardstock. So I have all mine already cut, and we're going to grab our scoreboard. And on the left side, we have the 8 5 by 5.5. And we're going to score all of them the same. Put your 5.5 in at the top. Oops. Oh, this is a 5 by 5. Set the 5 by 5 aside. I was like, wait a minute. Put your 5.5 in at the top, and you score it a 1/2 inch on all 8. So you will have 8 of them that when the score line is folded will be 5 by 5, and you have 1 that is 5 by 5 with no scoring. Okay, so go ahead and do all of these the same. 5.5 in at the top, score at a 1/2 inch. Okay, so we have all those, and we take our 9 by 6.5. This one's I've already scored it. You take your 8.5 by 6.5 and set that aside. We don't score that. I'm just making sure that's 8.5 by 6.5. Okay. So then you take all the others, your 9 by 6.5, and you're going to put the 9 at the top and score all of them at a 1/2 inch, just like that. So go ahead and do that. Okay, so now we're ready to fold and burnish and put these together. So I'm going to go ahead and do that real quick. Just fold and burnish really well. Okay, so now we're ready to put these together. This is kind of like putting 2 separate little books together. So you'll be surprised at how easy this is to put together. And you can also make these different sizes as long as they fit in your album. So this would probably be the biggest you would want, but you could make both sides this size, or make this a little bit bigger if you wanted to in your album. This one's going to open from the top from the bottom up, and these are going to be opening from the right over. So let's put these together first. So you have to just be really accurate in gluing these together, okay? You're going to be gluing one on top of the other by putting glue on your 1/2 inch. I use glue because it's easier to wiggle around and get it lined up. However, it's comfortable for you. If you want to use your scoreboard as a guide, you could do that. I tend to do better just putting them together and tapping them in together. So I'm going to take my glue and take the first one, and I'm just going to put glue on the back side of this 1/2 inch, and I'll show you just a second what I'm talking about. See how it's folded? The back of the 1/2 inch, okay? This goes down, so you have one down with a 1/2 inch on the back. You put them all together, all on the same side. So you line up your folds, make sure your top and your bottoms are lining up. Just take your time, get that done, and then burnish. You're going to continue doing this by stacking. It's kind of like a stacked waterfall, I guess you could call it, but they're not spaced out. They're all going to be stacked right on top of each other. So keep doing that, just making sure the folds are all on the same side and that you line up the top, the side, and the bottom and burnish. So they're going to be stacked all the way up on top of each other. You have your little 5x5 one that wasn't scored. That one will be put on last on the back. So we're going to line this up. Make sure everything is lining up the way you want it to. If you need to move some a little bit, do that real quick. Sometimes mine are not totally 100% perfect, but if they're close enough, I'm pretty happy. So just keep on doing that, stacking one on top of the other. And again, make sure all the folds are on the same side. Okay, once we have that all done, we're going to put this other piece on. You can look at it. Sometimes with your cutting or scoring, they might be off a little bit. I think mine are okay, but you can trim a little bit if you have a heavy cutter that could do that. If you have any you think might be sticking out a little bit. Now flip this over, and the one that is the same size, or the 5x5, I'm going to put glue on this back 1/2 inch. And I'm going to line this one up. Now I'm going to make sure I'm lining up out here on the edge. Drop it down. So it may not go all the way to your half fold line, but as long as it's even out here on the edges, it's fine. Now this is what's going to attach into our album. We will just be putting glue on this back one and putting it in just like that. It'll go in like this. So I'm pretty happy with that. The big one is assembled the same way, as you can see. So take this one. We're going to do the same thing. We're going to take one, and then we're going to put the glue on the 1/2 inch on the back. Stack them together. Folds on the same side. Line up your bottom edges and top. And just keep on adding those together and burnish them really well. And I'm going to go ahead and do these off camera and get them all together. Okay, so we have all of these with the 1/2 inch flaps glued on together. And so now we just need to add this one piece here that is your 8.5 by 6.5, sorry. So the glue goes on your 1/2 inch, the last one back here on the back. And then we're going to line this up from the side here, from the ends. Drop it down. Make sure it stayed on straight. Okay, and burnish it there. So there is the photo flap pages ready for our album. Now all we need to do is start adding patterned paper into our album and on our cover, adding these in and getting them into the book. Okay, so I have my page sets done. Remember, these all have 8 pages that flip up. Then they have the 9th one is the bottom one that stays attached to the album. So we have the bigger size and the smaller size. Now then, these are going to go inside just like this. So the small one's going to open at the top, open at the bottom like this. And this is going to open on the right side like that, okay? And we will have to have a closure on this. Okay, so can't see much of our pattern paper, but that's okay. All right, so on these front ones, we're going to put a magnet. So I'm going to write M on the front piece to remind me to put a magnet there, okay? Now then, we're going to go ahead. What I want you to do with it out of the book is pattern all your pieces here. So what I did is I just put pattern paper on the bottom side to cover this seam. So I'm not going to double mat. I'm going to cover all of these. So I'll be cutting, I'll go ahead and cut them all. So cut 9 pieces of this size and then 9 pieces for this side. So I want just the 1/8 of an inch border all the way around. So these measure 5 by 5. So we're going to cut these at 4 3/4, the pattern paper, 4 3/4 by 4 3/4. If you're going to mat these, it's going to make them extra thick. So I would suggest not doing that. You can do it on the front one, but not on the back one. So if you're going to double mat the front one, which if I have enough paper, I have some solid papers that I'll probably use. To mat that, the mat would be, your solid mat would be 4 3/4 by 4 3/4, and your pattern will be 4 1/2 by 4 1/2. So we just need one of this and one of this, okay, for just that one. Then we're going to need 8 at 4 3/4 by 4 3/4. Like I said, I'm not putting this down in the description below. I'm giving it to you now. So, because you might want to do yours differently. This one here, because it is 8 1/2, that's going to be 8 1/4. 1, 8 1/4 by your solid mat, 8 1/4 by 6 1/2, 6 1/4. And then we need one of the pattern paper that is 8 wide by 6 tall, and I write down the width, which one's wide and which one's tall, to make sure if I have a pattern that's directional that I cut it right. Then we're going to need 8 in here, 8 at 8 1/4 wide by 6 1/4 tall of your pattern paper to cover all those. So what I'm going to do is cut, glue in all of them here. I am not going to I'm going to cut, but I'm not going to glue down these because we're going to have to put a magnet on, and then I will also be showing you how to make your magnetic closures like I did on this one. Okay, so I'm going to turn the camera off, and then I'm going to go ahead and get my pattern papers cut, start gluing them in, except for the front ones. I'm not going to glue those, and I'll do that with you. Okay, so I have all my pattern papers on my little booklets that are page sets that are going to go in the album. I went ahead and matted the front here. I used the solid paper from the collection on the two front ones, but I'm going to have a decorative piece on each one. I haven't decided on the big one yet, but like this is what I'm going to put here, and the magnet's going to go underneath. And inside here you will see each page. So this is the pattern papers I used. I have the yellow dot here, the bees, the little floral, the blue pattern, green dots, the black with the larger flowers, the green with the smaller flowers, and the pink and white dots. So I did the same on this one, exactly the same, and in the same order on all those. So again, I just patterned the bottom one where the hinges are, and this I'm going to leave plain for photo mats and decorating. So let's just plan our magnets now. I'm going to use the big magnet. So I need 2 sets of magnets. So I need 2 pluses and 2 minus to do this. Okay, these are the basic gray magnetic discs that you can order from Country Craft Creations. I really like these because they are thinner, and I like the large ones because they do hold really well. And I put the metal side to metal so that the papers are to the outside. So you put a plus and a minus together, okay? So now we're going to take this one. Well, they do love to stick together. Okay, get over there. I'm going to peel, it doesn't matter which one, just peel the backing off of one side. And I'm going to look at this. This is where my decorative piece is going to go. So I want this about right here. Now then, I'm going to take this other one off and just set it aside because I haven't made my closure piece yet, but this is going to cover this up right here. So I'm going to go ahead and glue that on. And we're going to get our page sets into our album. Now then, if you don't want to use magnets or you don't have magnets, you can use tie ribbon instead, and I'll show you here in just a second where you would put those. So let me line this up. Now I made this decorative piece here with one of the frames from the ephemera and another different piece underneath, and then a chipboard butterfly, and then some of the flat back enamel dots. So I really love how that turned out. I'm going to make sure I burnish where that magnet is really well. Get all this stuck down. Okay, so that's our decorative piece right there. So we have a magnet ready for the closure when I make the closure. And this one we take the magnet, we just need the 1/2. I want to take the minus also. So we have 2 pluses that we're going to use on our closure pieces. And this is going to go like this if you're using the magnets. So I'm going to peel the backing off. And about, oh, I want this one on the side. It's got to be on the side. Glad I thought of that. This is a side opening. So your magnet needs to be here on the right, okay? Because your page is open this way. So we want the closure over here. So let me line it up. Put my magnet about right there. Okay. Now, if it makes you more comfortable, I didn't on this other one, but you can put a little bit of gift wrap tape over that. It helps to secure it down and then also kind of seals that up. And I didn't on that other one, but that'll be okay. Sometimes we forget. And then I'm going to go ahead and glue this piece down. And I'm using the cameras or the printed side or with the flowers because I wanted to be able to see more of that on the right side. Once you put this bigger page set down, you don't see the pretty paper. So I wanted to see some of that. So we're going to stick this down and center it. Take my cloth and burnish it down. Especially right over here around the magnet. You see that tape kind of conceals that edge of that magnet. Now I didn't do it on this one, which I should have. Okay. Okay, so there we go. Now we're ready to put them in the book. And then pretty much this is going to be done. I mean, you could stop at this point. If you don't want to put any decorating on your pages, you don't have to. These are great gifts because people we give them to may not be crafters like us, and they may not know what to do with all the flips and flaps and pockets. This is so simple. You can make this really quickly. And once they have it, you add the photos, or they do, give them a tape runner or something. All they have to do is flip through and look at their photos. So let's discuss the ribbon part. If you were, I'm not going to put a ribbon, though the ribbons make them really, really pretty. Did I do that? I did do that in this one because my magnet wasn't holding enough. And I did do a ribbon here. So you see how it looks with a ribbon. And you can put it top and bottom or side to side, whichever you want to do. But I don't think on this one I'm going to do a ribbon. I hope I'm not making a mistake. But anyway, instead of the closure piece, you would put your ribbon on the back of your pages where you want it to tie, one on each side. Put it on before you glue it down. So make sure they match on each side. Then you would glue this down. You would have a ribbon over here. Then you would tie it in the middle. Both sides. Really simple way to close it if you prefer to have a ribbon or you don't have magnets. Okay. So we covered that. So now we're ready to glue this inside. So we're going to take a look here. Now the closure piece is going to fit over here. So I want to kind of offset it just a little bit. I know it looks a little weird, but once that closure piece is on there, it's going to be fine. So I have more space over here, probably about 3/4 of an inch from the solid print. And then the top and the bottom stand up to look really good. Is just about where just the pink is showing. So I'm going to put glue, and I'll make sure I put plenty of glue back here on this fold edge where everything folds up. And let's get glue all the way around. And I do believe glue will work better holding everything than if we just use score tape. For me, where I live in Texas, I have had score tape come loose, and so I don't rely on that. I only use it to help me hold things down, but I use glue predominantly to make things stay put. Okay, so now we're going to line this up. Get it as straight as I can. Take one of my spacers here, and that way I can see that I'm getting it on there nice and straight. So then lift this up to your last page and burnish that. Okay, wipe off any glue, make sure everything is in good. Could have gone down a little bit. Maybe I won't. Let me see. I've already started burnishing, but I'm going to lift because I didn't like the pattern paper kind of showing. Okay, so I just want the pink above it showing right here, right there. Okay, that'll do. Burnish it again. Sorry if I'm shaking the camera. That should be down good, and that is in place. Okay. Now keep in mind that you don't want any thick embellishments on these pages anywhere. You don't want flowers. Even the flatback enamel dots could be too much. Might be able to use some of the chipboard. We'll see. But I would like to keep it as flat as possible because you will make sure you can put pictures in there. So it's just really a flip through. Stickers are great for decorating, and that's probably what we'll use a lot of. So here we have this one. We're going to center this one pretty much in here. Get my ruler going. So it's 9 3/4. Let's do it from the 10-inch. It's easier. So there's your center at 5. And we want it. Got 7, so 3.5 is your center. So I think that looks about right. So I'm going to line this up. And that means we're going to put this down, this left edge, at about 2 3/4. Okay, glue on the back. Make sure your fold edges is going to the top. Of course, you can make it open any direction you want. For mine, it needs to open to the top. And you can make these, this one like a different size maybe if you want it for different size photos. This one you could make smaller. It's totally up to you. The options are unlimited for what you might want to do within the size of your, I think I hit the camera, sorry, the size of your book cover. Okay, so be sure and lift this up, burnish it really well, back in here on the back. Okay, so there's our little pages inside, and like I said, if you wanted to leave it like that, you could. Of course, we do need the closures. If you had the ribbon on there, then you would be done. So I'm going to show you how to make the closures for this, each side, and then I will be doing my decorating off camera, and I will have the finished album to share with you. So yeah, I'm going to go ahead and cut my elements for my closures and share that with you and show you how to make those. Okay, the first closure we're going to make is for the left side. And what I've done is taken a small sticky note pad that has about, 1/8 of an inch so height to kind of give me a little lift on this, because once we put decorating and some photos in there, it's going to lift it up. So this piece here, you cut one out of cardstock that's 2 3/4 wide. Okay, 2 3/4 tall by 2 1/4 wide. So I had that wrote down wrong. It really doesn't matter as long as you have the 2 3/4 by 2 1/4. Then you're going to put your 2 3/4 inch side in your scoreboard, and you're going to score at 1/2 inch and 1 inch. Okay. Now, if you want to do something to the corners, you can. I'm going to leave mine square. So this is what our piece looks like right now when we fold it up. We have the 1/2 inch attachment, a 1/2 inch height lift on it here, and then we have the wider piece up here. Then I cut out of the green or whatever you're matting with. I'm going to do a double mat. So the first mat out of a solid color is a 2 by 1.5. And then the next one is a 1 3/4 by 1 1/4. And then my next one is 1.5 by 1.5 wide by 1 tall. So I'm going to glue these together real quick and show you putting these on. I should have already glued these together, but that's okay. We'll do these real quick. So I'm just going to center that right there, and this pattern one goes on top. Now this is the front. Don't glue anything onto the back one yet till we get that magnet on there. So let me, I'm just going to assemble my layers first, like this. Now you can layer the little spaces if you want, but honestly, you don't see those that much, and it's really hard to cut even little for that 1/2 inch space. That's what I'm trying to say, because I just do 3/8. So I'm going to put this one here. So these I cut for just out of the green that are 3/8 wide by 2.5 long or whatever. Okay, I want to glue one on each side. It's just to kind of finish it off. And like I said, if you want to try to cut, layer these and add the pattern paper, well, go ahead. I just think that we don't see them that much, and I'm just putting them in there for kind of like a little bit of strength. So I am not going to worry about that. Just add a little color to it. So you put one on each side, front and back, or front and inside. Just like this. Okay. There we go. Now then, this is going to be the outside. So it's folded up like this. You can put this one on. And we're not going to put the other one until we attach it and attach the magnet, okay? Okay, just like that. That's the piece. So we got this one holding it. Now then, if I put it right in the center, it's going to be kind of like that. I'm going to scoot mine over. I know it's off center, and I don't care. You can just, put it wherever you want. Now I'm going to put, didn't have to put paper on that one, but that's okay. We're going to put glue here on this piece. So yeah, we didn't need to mat that one. And I'm going to butt up the edge to the edge of the bottom of this, the page set piece, and get it nice and straight so that 1/2 inch is all that's attached right there. And so that's, I need to scoot it down. I don't want it over my little flat back gem there. There we go. So it's going to be right there. Okay, make sure I've got it straight now that I moved it. Okay. So now our magnet is in here. So let's take the magnet and place it here. My magnet needed to have been down a little bit lower. So I'm going to go ahead and put it on. Pull my backing off. Okay, so I have that on there, and I'm going to take a little tape. So it's a good idea to not put your decorative pieces on until you have your magnets all done. That just makes it fit on there a little bit better, I think. Mine's going to be okay. It's probably going to tuck under there a little bit or just sit on top. And that's okay. But yeah, put this piece on after you've done your magnet piece. Okay, so now I'm going to go ahead and put my pattern paper down to finish this off. And then I'll get the other one ready. So get that all burnished in there and covered up. And it closes up like that. Okay, now while we don't have anything in there, it's going to look kind of funny. It's going to be at an angle, but that's okay because everything will straighten up. I don't think I can move this. I might can because I use foam tape. I didn't do that, so I will see. That's something I might fix off camera because I don't want you to have to sit and watch me fiddle with that. And then I'll start working on this one next. For the right closure piece, cut a piece of cardstock that is 5 inches by 3.5, and you're going to score your 3.5 inch side at 3/8 of an inch. This is to make it fit on the edge. Now, if you have more space here on the side, you can make it a 1/2 inch, but mine's going to be 3/8 of an inch and 7/8 of an inch scoring. That way I have 3/8 to put down on the book, a 1/2 inch gusset here for the closure side piece. Then I cut my mats, and I cut out of the green. I cut 2 that are 2 3/8 by 4 3/4. The pink, I cut 2 that are 2 1/8 by 4 1/4, 4 1/2. 2 that are 2 1/8 by 4 1/2. And the pattern paper, you cut 2 that is 1 7/8 tall by 1 7/8 wide, because it goes this way, wide by 4 1/4 tall. This one is non-directional, so it doesn't matter. But if you have a pattern that you want to make sure it's not going the wrong way, you want to double check that. So this one goes here on the front, and then I cut, let's see, I have it here somewhere. I cut 2. I've lost one. I'll have to find it. I cut 2 that are 3/8 wide by 4 3/4 tall, and just 1 that is 1/4 wide by 4 3/4 inches tall. So that is going to go on these little spaces right here. So I've misplaced one. Let's see. I've already laid my magnet here. It's not attached. So I'm going to go ahead for right now, and I'm going to put this one on the front, because we can go ahead and do that before we attach our closure piece down. And again, I do think it might be better for you to wait on putting these on until after you have added all your decorations on the inside, so you see how thick your book is getting, just to be on the safe side that your magnets are in the right place, which means do not put your final piece of pattern paper on until you are completely done with everything on the inside. I just think that that might make it a little easier. Okay, so this is going to attach like, oh, I got to put the magnet. It's going to pull the backing off. I'm like, oh, no, it's not sticking. Pull the backing off your magnet. And we want to make sure this is going to fit here. I'm not gluing it down just yet. Flush with the bottom. My 1/2 inch standing up. I'm going to try to make sure I've got equal amounts top and bottom. Press down, pull up. So that should be about the right spot for my little magnet. Let's get me some tape. And then before I actually put this piece on here, I'm going to go ahead and glue this one down. Then I can double check again to make sure. So glue here. And we're going to push it on, but let the magnet grab. Make sure that's flush in. Okay, like that, nice and straight. Lift up and burnish that. So this little skinny one here, let's flip this open. It's going to go in this space here. So we're going to go ahead and put this one on. Let's get everything over. So we're going to put this one right here. Burnish that down. Now the magnet. And this little skinny one on. Let's put this short one on. This 3/8 one on. And then I'll have to either go cut another one or find the one that I had cut. As soon as I cut another one, it'll magically appear. I know it will. So put that in the center. Make sure it's not over your score lines. And then put this one on. So all I need is to add the one on the back. And really, you know, if you don't put one on the outer side, that's okay. Can't really see it that much. These, when you open it up, you see. Okay, so let's burnish that. So this opens up, stands up. Oops, glue oozed out. Oops, there. I didn't wipe my glue off. Okay, it's going to be okay. So that will stand up. These close over, and that's like that. Okay, so let me find it or cut a new one, and then we'll put that on the back side back here. Okay, so it was on the floor, so I did not have to cut another one. So I'm going to put my glue on. And this goes on the back side right here. Would have been easier if I put it on before I glued all this down, but it's working just fine. So I'm going to burnish that right there. So that just kind of finishes that off. Burnish that. So now I have to decide what I want to put here on the front. And I did redo this side over here because I totally had this too far down. So I lifted off the frame, but I did lose my little piece that had the camera. So I used a sticker camera and some flowers just kind of replaced that. I did get to keep my chipboard. This one, I'm not so sure. That's why I'm saying I encourage you to wait to put these on until you finish on the inside, because I'm afraid it may not hold. It may not hit right on the magnet. I'm not sure. So if that does, then I will have to put a ribbon closure somewhere in here like I did on the other one, but I'm going to wait on that and see. So that is the project. I just need to add what I want to put on here. So I will do that off camera because I'm going to decide what I want it to be, and then I need to put something here on the front, just probably on the corner or something. So the project is done, except for the adding the different little stickers and frames and tuck spots throughout the pages. So that is the tutorial for this coffee table album. I want to thank you so much for joining me. I will have a complete walkthrough of this finished project, as well as one of the other one I did my prototype in the 49 Market Papers. So I'll have a separate walkthrough for those. There'll be another video for that, and then I will also have a slideshow here at the end. So stay tuned and watch the slideshow. Remember to subscribe to my channel if you're new here and you haven't already. Double check if you are subscribed. Make sure you've clicked the bell so that you get notifications of my next videos. Give me a thumbs up, and as always, shop Country Craft Creations for your scrapbooking supplies. The wonderful, wonderful Artisan cardstock. You can get your chipboard there, your adhesives, your score tape sheets, your art glitter glue, and fabulous paper collections. So I'll see you next time. Thanks so much for following along on this tutorial. I'll have another quick little project probably for this paper collection in a week or so. Thanks, everybody. Bye-bye.